Well, joining me now on set here is Fatih Oke. He's the Executive Director of the Turkish Arab Media Association, an NGO that Jamal Khashoggi advised. From Washington, D.C., we have Matthew Brodsky. He's a Senior Fellow at the Security Studies Group. Also in Washington, we have Saudi affairs expert Ali Ahmed. Gentlemen, welcome to the Newsmakers. Ali Ahmed, let me begin with you. So far, it's clear the king has backed his son, the next in line. He has praised the judicial system for the actions that they are taking in Saudi Arabia for those allegedly involved. However, Reuters reporting that several high-profile princes and others within the ruling family want MBS out. They want Mohammed bin Salman out, and there's a restlessness within the royal family. What do you make of that?
It's not a secret that the other members of the ruling family have been trying and vowing for power in the kingdom, and this did not start after Jamal Khashoggi's murder. It started early, and it has been always ongoing. Let us remember, in Saudi history, the first crown prince was killed by his brother. Then the second king was overthrown by his brother Faisal, and Faisal was assassinated. And there has been always competition and struggle for power. This is nothing new. However, I think now there is a greater opportunity for international support because MBS is being seen as unfit to rule the country. And I think they're just taking credit, and they are planting these stories in the media that, oh, there is something happening. I do not see it because they don't need it to put it out there. If they are going to do it, they would have already done it. And the reality is, members of the ruling family, no matter how senior they are, cannot do anything to MBS. He has all the power. They have no army, no military or security forces to back them. If the U.S. decides to back them, I think there is somebody in the U.S. who wants to have a different prince ruling the country, but it has not really come to an actionable plan yet.
Matthew Brodsky, is President Trump protecting Mohammed bin Salman in order to preserve the relationship with the Saudis, no matter what?
Well, I think President Trump, as opposed to much of the American media, is approaching this entire problem from a position of looking at what America's interests and values are and trying to bring them into balance. And what that means in this situation is that as bad of a crime as this is, the United States still needs a working relationship with Saudi Arabia, given what it contributes to the United States in the Middle East, what it's doing on behalf of keeping the oil markets stable as the U.S. has reimposed sanctions on Iran. So there are many things that that Saudi Arabia and the United States have been working on together. So, but again, this relationship is not based on humanitarian issues. It's based on American interests, and specifically in the Middle East.
Certainly, and that's realpolitik. Let me come in here.
That have different.
Let me ask an addition to that question, just to sort of drill down and get some clarity here. So that's the realpolitik, right? But America has these stated objectives and these stated values, and, if you're going to be doing terrible things, we're not going to do business with you. Is there any amount of evidence that can be presented to President Trump that would make him have to end the relationship, or maybe even severely restrict the relationship? So we see the CIA assessment, and what we're hearing is the CIA feels Mohammed bin Salman ordered this. We're hearing from members of the State Department that Mohammed bin Salman ordered this. Is there any amount of evidence presented to President Trump where he has to do something, or will he protect at all costs?
I don't think any of this, the new details aren't really changing the fundamental way in which the United States views its relationships and its system of allies and adversaries. So I understand why it's in Turkey's interest and Qatar's interest and in the interest of many from the previous administration who want to see us back in a partnership with Iran and downgrading our relations with Saudi Arabia. I can see why it's in their interest to keep continuing the focus on a drip, drip, drip of information coming out each day. But in the end, it doesn't really change the fundamental facts, which is the U.S. has a partnership with Saudi Arabia, right, and the countries that are currently getting out this information have very different priorities on a host of issues
Matthew,
from the United States.
Certainly, isn't it in the interest of the United States, the taxpayers and others, that What if it has nothing to do with Iran? What if it has nothing to do with Barack Obama supporters or Turkish interests or Qatari interests? What if it merely has to do with the fact that people don't want the United States to do business with a guy who calls a citizen to a consulate and has him chopped up?
Right. The question that then you're asking is, should the U.S. just simply react out of the horror from this? I mean, this goes both ways. Of course, the United States is going to keep working with allies who are doing things with the country. I mean, if Americans were to start asking the exact same questions, should we be doing business with countries that are been helping Iran escape sanctions, with countries that have been helping promote ISIS over the past few years, with countries who are attacking U.S. allies throughout the region, then we'd be talking about Turkey. And of course, that's not the way the United States deals with that relationship either. It looks at relations and it looks at who our allies are and who are acting within our interest. And that's the important metric that the United States is using to measure. It's not about Turkey and Qatar keeping enough information leaking out day by day about how horrible this event was. It was bad.
I appreciate your candor, and the dig was recognized. So I just want to ask you, just for clarity, before I bring Fatih Oke in, just in case, Fatih, you think that we invited you and we're not letting you speak. Matthew, any evidence that Turkey is helping ISIS? Because you threw that in there.
We know how many people have come through the territory to join ISIS to begin with. We know that they've been chomping up bits of Syria and trying to expand its neo-Ottoman empire.
No, I've asked you if there's any evidence that Turkey is helping ISIS.
We know that it's been threatening to destroy our allies.
You've said people have moved through Turkey. Is that evidence that they've helped ISIS?
The evidence that we have about skirting sanctions with Iran is, of course, quite clear. And essentially, with selling and trading oil with ISIS while it held on to the northeast.
Iran is an avowed enemy of ISIS.
This is something that's been well documented.
Matthew,
we know
Iran's an avowed enemy of ISIS. ISIS is an avowed enemy of Iran. I don't understand. Again, and I don't want this to become
But Turkey's been playing both sides. We understand this.
Do you have any evidence of this? This is what I'm asking you.
This is what I'm saying, though. If we are going to have an actual policy that's based on what our interests are, then we need to look at that, not just look at what the latest horror of the day
So
is.
I asked you, if they chopped up a guy in a consulate, is it worth breaking ties over? You said no. And you said that we still keep a relationship with Turkey and Turkey helps ISIS. I've asked you for evidence that Turkey helps ISIS and you haven't provided any.
Okay, why are you guys then attacking our allies, the Kurds?
Hold on.
If you're doing that, then we can't help fight ISIS, and that's just we're talking in the past
different story altogether.
Hold on, your own foreign minister
I've asked you a very simple
question.
Do you have any evidence that Turkey supports ISIS? Yes or no? Any evidence that Turkey supports ISIS?
Yes, you watched them come from Europe. You've watched refugees come from Europe and then sent them on through into Syria to join ISIS, because the thinking then from Turkey was that this would be the force that would overthrow Assad.
Fair enough, I'm going to leave it at that.
And this has been in the news before everyone got amnesia.
Matthew, I don't think it's very good for your argument, because I've asked you about a very specific case with Jamal Khashoggi.
I didn't walk around with a page of links for you.
Okay, let me bring in Fatih. Okay, Fatih, I appreciate Matthew's candor and his openness here when he talks about the fact that, listen, no matter what happens, or what happened in the consulate, ultimately, this is about more than just the horror of the human rights of Jamal Khashoggi, right? You were his friend, you worked with him, and so on. How do you feel about that, that ultimately, in the bigger picture of realpolitik, you're going to have people like Matthew saying, come on, this is a massive relationship with the United States. The US is never going to end this relationship, no matter how much evidence there is that this was ordered from the very top in the most grotesque way.
This is very simple, actually. People killed in the most horrific way in the world history, in an embassy, in a diplomatic premise. It's a crime. I don't want to read this issue with macro measurements and real politics. Just basically, they killed him. They tried to mute a voice, which is a very strong voice from United States, from Washington Post. They tried to mute him, and they mute. And now the things are going in a different way, and they didn't delete some proofs, some realities, and the things is coming to that way. And ISIS and Turkey said, come on, this is not the issue. The reality is they killed a man in an embassy, in a consulate. This is important. It is very important for Islamic republics, Islamic democracies, because they should accept it. Saudi should accept this crime.
But they're saying they're putting the people who did it, they want the death penalty for 5, and the others are also being prosecuted. Yeah. They're finding the people who did this. Good. Why don't you trust them?
It's very good. They find 18 men. Mm-hmm. But we are still waiting the 19 men. Who gave the order? They didn't put any proof on that. And now we are seeing the CIA reports, and probably they will release it. And now just someone from the Foreign Department in America told that, yes, it's from MBS.
But isn't it also convenient that the entire Muslim Ummah suddenly now trusts the CIA's reports, right? Suddenly, okay, the CIA
No, actually, they are trusting the Turkish reports, which not released yet. Right. But Turkish reports affected CIA reports. It's very obvious. Everybody knows it.
Are you convinced that this came from the very top in Saudi Arabia?
Of course. It's very obvious. It is very obvious. And we in Turkish Arab Media Association, we called the old Ali Saud, the Saud family, and the elders of Saudi Arabia, big tribes, we call them to give us a real justice, and give us the real name to protect the Saudi honor.
Right.
Because there's no tradition in Saudi to chop a man, to dismember a man in the embassy. No, we didn't hurt. Yes, they have a death penalty with sword.
Right.
And they are the only country who carries 2 swords in their flag, of course. Right. But come on, it's
okay. Let me bring in Ali Al-Ahmed. I want to ask Ali Al-Ahmed. Ali, for years you have spoken out against the Saudi government. That's one of the reasons why you're in the United States. And I've spoken to you quite often on this show and other shows, right? You've complained about Saudi actions elsewhere in Yemen and in terms of human rights repression and so on. It took for this incident, for a country like Germany, for example, to cut arms trade with the Saudis, at least for now. It took for this incident to bring someone like Lindsey Graham out to say this is wrong and we need to relook at Yemen. How do you feel about that? Does it seem genuine or disingenuous?
It's very hard for me to believe this is genuine. I want to just address what Matt said about values. This is absurd because the United States was allied with Stalin. And I'm quoting Mr. Trump, who said that Obama created ISIS. True, the United States, through its security apparatus, maybe we're using other countries in the region, supported ISIS to achieve certain goals. So let's not pretend that the United States here is an angel.
Yeah, but governments. Ali, the United States says they had to support Stalin to defeat Hitler, and at the moment they're saying we have to support Saudi to defeat Iraq.
This is of course this is not value. So I don't want to hear this value stuff again because if you have aligned with Stalin. If you are also, the U.S. is implicated in creating Al-Qaeda and creating ISIS and supporting these. And this has been my work for a long time. I've written reports about it in details. The issue here is we have the Saudi, just for the fact that the U.S. has been providing security for the Saudi monarchy, this in itself tells us there's no value used in this relationship. So a monarchy that does not allow women to drive or treats women like slaves, this is not based on values. So I don't want to hear this thing about values again, please. It is very...
Is he done? This is 10 minutes of garbage that I didn't even say.
Serious stuff. This is not, it's about the people. Our people are not slaves that should be support a monarchy who takes their humanity away. So America takes part of the blame for supporting this monarchy and other monarchies and other dictators. Just like Jean Kirkpatrick said, international dictators are bastards, but they are our bastards.
Matthew, why do you think this is garbage?
American policy.
What I said is that we do this based on the intersection of our interests, which is the most important part, and where that intersects with our values, and we try to bring them into balance. It's about interest. This was the point that I stressed, and this is the point that I made. So it's fine that he wants to address something that I didn't say. That's fine. Clearly, our foreign policy is not based on sharing the values that we have with Saudi Arabia, the Western values that we bring, the Judeo-Christian values. No, that's not the basis of our relationship, obviously. And of course we were allies with Stalin when we were against an enemy such as the Nazis. But this is neither here nor there. This is ridiculous. Guy just spoke for 5 minutes addressing something that I never said. It wasn't even the point. It's about interests,
I spoke less than you.
Okay. Ali Al-Ahmed, is
you said values. I didn't say values.
Is Mohammed bin Salman, Ali, going to survive this?
Yes, absolutely. I think so. Look, Mr. Khashoggi's murder is awful. It's condemned, but there are greater crimes that the U.S. continues to help the Saudi monarchy. The funny thing is that the United States was founded on removing an absolute monarchy from this land. Yet now it continues to support the largest absolute monarchy and the most backward monarchy in the world. So, yeah, Yemen crimes, killing children is worse than killing Mr. Khashoggi. It is a murder, it's a horrendous murder, but killing 100,000 children in Yemen, that's much worse. Yet the United States keeps doing it, continues to do it because of these so-called values.
Okay. I appreciate all your honesty and your candor. Fatih Oke, Ali Al-Ahmed, and Matthew Brodsky, thanks for joining us.